Are going live. Hi, this is Ali Brown, and I am here with Clotilde Dusoulier. Did I do okay with that?
Dusoulier. Yes, great.
Dusoulier. All right, everybody, forgive me. Spanish is my was my language of choice in college, and then I love French. I just love the French language. So it's wonderful to have you, Clotilde. And I'm going to let you share a bit more about your story, but I am going to share that Clotilde is one of the most prominent life coaches in France, and it's going to be a very interesting conversation because she really helped pioneer this whole category in an area where it was new. And there's a lot to be said for that, and reasons that she's made certain decisions this year in her business as well. And what I'd like to do first, though, is just introduce myself as well. I'm Ali Brown. This is We Lead Live. What I'm doing for the next few weeks is bringing on some of the most really interesting and successful women in my circles to share a bit about their story, how they achieved their success, and most importantly, I'd say right now, critical decisions that they're making this year in how they see their business changing and their industries changing. It's very much a time to be thinking ahead and thinking forward and making decisions from that place. I think 2020 was a year of a lot of responding and the pivot. Everyone's saying pivot, pivot, pivot. Now it's like, all right, chart your course. You decide where things are going. You make the plan and you reach it. And that's where we're focusing in this series. So I want to give just a quick invitation before we get started that I have a special call coming up that I'll tell you a bit more about later. It's on Wednesday, February 3rd, and it's at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And that's if you'd like to learn more about my circle, The Trust, jointhetrust.org/private invitation. And we'll put a link in the notes here as well. And that will be where I'm sharing more about this organization, why I founded it, why I thought it was sorely needed for women at these levels around the world. I'll be telling you a bit more about that later, but if you want to click on the link, you can go there as well. So Clotilde, can you please start off by sharing a bit about your journey? Because I think this is fascinating. I mean, years ago, you were more in the tech space, and now you have the #1 podcast for life coaching in France. And I love hearing about how business and industries are different in different areas of the world. So I'm going to hand you the floor for a bit to tell a bit more about you and your story.
Thank you. Thank you. So I am a master certified coach here in France. I am based in Paris, and I host the #1 personal development podcast in France, which I launched almost 4 years ago when there were practically no podcasts in France and people didn't talk about life coaching at all. And truly, I saw the need to offer a fresh perspective on personal development. In France, this idea of self-help and personal development is a little bit made fun of, I would say. It's like, yada yada, it's a lot of blah blah blah, and French people tend to want to kind of like present a really strong facade of like, I have it all figured out. I am the perfect Parisienne, and I am super. I woke up like this.
Beautiful life.
Exactly, and it extends to how you handle your life and what you say or don't say about your relationships and how you're truly doing. And I think I grew up with the idea that I had a lot of questions about how I was feeling and why people did the things that they did, and like nobody around me seemed very interested in those conversations. And I think I'm I'm a fairly sensitive person, and I had so many questions that nobody ever answered. And when I found those answers in my mid-30s, after having 2 children, where I kind of like, I was like, I think I need like some serious tools to handle all of this. When I found those answers, I looked around me and I thought, everybody needs to hear about this. Everybody needs to hear about what feelings are, and not just like stuff them down or eat chocolate on top of it. Or and I thought that there was a dire need for something that was fresh and modern around personal development, that didn't make you feel like you had to like hide out in the woods and just not see anybody for like 2 weeks, and just give people the tools that they need in order to live a full, accomplished life without all of the like the mind drama and all of the stuff that just kind of like pulls you down, and you know that you shouldn't care about all of the small stuff, but still you do, and then you beat yourself up because you do. And when I found those coaching tools, they really made such a difference for me that I intuited that they would make a difference for others. And now 15 million downloads of the podcast later, I think we've made that point.
Can you tell a bit about you made some interesting career moves though on the way here. So,
Yes.
you didn't come out of the gate and just blaze the trail of coaching, right? There was an evolution, which I think mirrors that of many of your clients, I'm going to guess. They all go through evolutions, and also that reflects in their career.
Absolutely. So I trained as a software engineer. I have a master's degree in software engineering. I worked for a few years in Silicon Valley, right out of university. So I did a few years as engineering and writing code, and then I found a passion for food and writing about food.
That
So
sounds
I
better than
launched.
code to me.
Well, it's actually, writing a recipe is actually writing. It's like programming, because you have to give instructions that make sense, and so that's why I wrote exceptionally good recipes, because I have an engineer's mindset behind it. So I launched the very first podcast, the very first food blog written by a French person back in 2003. And the blog again was very successful, and I started a career of food writing. So I wrote in French and I wrote in English, and so I was able to publish books internationally, and I wrote articles in the press about the food scene in Paris, and I gave food tours of Paris, and it was a very, very fun time. I learned so much and I met so many interesting people. But I worked in that domain for 15 years. And after a while, you kind of reach a plateau of what you think you can provide in terms of the freshness of the stories and the freshness of the perspective. And I thought I could certainly work in that area for the rest of my life, because it's a wonderful job. But I'm a learner, and once I get past a certain point, like I yearn for something fresh and something new that I can that I can dive in. And right around that time, I discovered coaching and those tools that I thought were so significant. So I switched again and started a fresh career as a master coach. So that was 4 years ago.
How was that received initially by everyone around you when you make that decision? Because you mentioned earlier that coaching in France was really kind of new. They're the women there especially are, I don't need this. This is, they probably think, oh, it's very American, right? It's cheesy. But you were introducing. So what were your steps when you started building a business around this, especially in an area that was not well received?
I think what was most important to me at first is that I had, and this is the way that I have approached every move and every decision in the past, is really, it started with the vision. It started with the vision of, this is something that I'm interested in. Coaching is something that I feel drawn towards, and like, what could it look like for me to do something around this? And it was the same as a food writer. Like, I didn't start out thinking, well, I didn't have a plan. I had a vision, and I had the same, likewise, a vision around, something about sharing those tools, sharing what was true for me, what had made such a huge difference in my life. And the first idea that I got, actually waking up from a nap, like a telegram from the universe, was to start a podcast. Like, the idea just popped into my brain, and I just acted upon it, which I have done in the past. And I recommend you do that, because it's in the past, it has served me well. And it's just one step at a time, thinking, well, how can I share this most broadly, and test the audience for interest. And I started the podcast that way, and very quickly it grew in audience and in interest, and I had such great feedback. So I offered some coaching to a few people that I knew, and I think it's a very good. In general, I like the exploration. So I had the vision, but I didn't have all of the steps. I always had like the very next small step in the direction of my vision. And then it's all about creating focus, because then everything that you do, you have to check against your vision and be like, does this draw me towards my vision, or does this distract me? And And then one thing that, like, the third part is having drive, and that's something that I'm very good at generating. It's like, once you have the vision and you have the focus, the drive is what really pulls you, like what ensures that doubts and fears and setbacks and other people not understanding what you're doing is just like, you're just blazing right through. And so vision, focus, and drive has really been like the three pillars of everything that I do. And I think it's something that if you can develop that, and it really, it's like you get the momentum, and then the vision feeds the focus feeds the drive, and you get pretty far that way.
And are those the same steps you walk your clients through?
Exactly. So what I have done, and I think it's something to look into when you're considering working with a coach, is what is their lived experience. And I don't think I could have been the coach that I am today if I had started 20 years ago. What I teach my clients now is really the sum of everything that I have done in the past, mistakes, good choices, like bad ideas, really good ones. And I am someone who likes to find patterns, to find the common theme, to boil things down to their essence. And so I am 41 now, so like, I'm sure that I have a lot of learning to do still. But I really like to extract the essence of what I have learned from a situation and package it up in a way that somebody else can be guided by that. I really identify with the figure of the guide, and my clients are the heroes of their own story. And I like to be the guide and offer guidance just when they need it, but they still own the transformation. They own everything that they do with it. And I really like I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because I think, when I got started originally, I don't know if you're familiar with Thomas Leonard from years ago, and he was,
No.
here in the States, a pioneer in coaching years and years ago. And I worked with a life coach in my 20s, actually. And I remember meeting her at a breakfast group, and I was like, what is this? Come on, this is New York, like, what is this stuff? And she had trained personally with Thomas Leonard, who passed away a few years later. Actually, I was at one of his last events to hear him speak when they had just announced that he'd passed. But he really was the one who was explaining what coaching it truly is, and what some people are portraying it as are totally different things, right? So people say that they're coaches now, but they're really more trainers, or they teach specific formulas or how to do something. And I want to bring it back to a point that you just made, because it's so important, that you are holding the space for your clients to have the transformation, right? That's a lot of the true coaching, right? And the wisdom of coaching. And I'm going to get a little meta now. We talk a lot about the ascension, and there's the 3D world kind of and then the 5D. We're all going into this new place of observing things. And people are going to be craving this type of transformation. They are going to be looking for more of this versus here's your 10 steps how to, have a great relationship, or whatever it is, whatever someone's teaching. It's more of this metamorphosis, because they're going through something like this now, whether they like it or not. So to have a guide and to have someone kind of hold them through the process and give them a multi-dimensional perspective on things, that is really coaching. And many people don't understand that. And so, I loved when I learned more about what you did, that it truly is about the personal transformation for people.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that one of the most important things that we can offer a client in coaching is really helping them consider what rules are they following in their own lives. Because we grow up with a bunch of standards, a bunch of rules of success. They tell us this is what you need to do, and then everything will be okay. And we comply all the time. And after a while, you realize that if you just, first of all of the rules are in contradiction to one another, especially when you're a woman. And so you're going to have to pick and choose what rules you choose to follow, when you break them, when you allow yourself to break them, when you fix it because you've broken them. And I think this is the most important part of really owning your path and your life, is really choosing your own rules, defining your own standards, and deciding how much you're going to hold yourself up to them, or when you can just like take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you truly own that personal navigation system, then you're pretty much unstoppable. But it's a huge process because we have internalized so much. We've been socialized with so many of those rules. Often we don't even realize that they're imaginary rules that nobody will hold us up to. We're like, no, this is the way,
That's
I'm supposed to
interesting.
pick up my kids, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, like a home cooked meal and this and that, and like this figure and this kind of success. And it's also like stifling. Um, and the freedom that you get from defining your own rules and then living by them is truly extraordinary.
Do you think right now is actually a great time to reinvent your own roles?
I do think it is, and I think that's if the pandemic has offered one thing, is that things are going to change and things are going to blow up whatever you do. So why not use that time of uncertainty? Like, you're going to be
Yeah.
growing no matter what, so why not choose your own growth rather than like react to what's happening. And I think that it's really, this is why this is a really good time for people to come to coaching. It's because there's so many things happening outside that if you're not truly taking ownership of what's happening inside of you, like the outside world is just going to come crashing into your own personal
Yeah.
space. So you kind of have to like put an equal amount of pressure around you to create that space.
Yeah. All of you watching who, if you are watching and you're in the coaching or consulting or transformational space, if you are not linking in to what's happening right now, if you are not connecting the dots for people as far as the current events and the world and their confusion and helping them, you're not only missing a huge opportunity for your purpose and your business, but there are people hurting. There are people who really don't understand that there are other ways, or they're curious and they don't know how to get started. They don't know how to do these transformations. This year has been a real upheaval for many people, but there's a liberation on the other end of that. But
Mm.
it often helps to have someone help you with the process. And Clotilde, I'd love you now to talk a bit about your business model and, what were the key points and things you put into action to break the 7-figure mark?
So what we've been offering are group coaching programs, because what I have found, I started out doing one-on-one coaching, and what I have found is that putting people together with a common goal, a common purpose, and similar challenges actually explodes the rate of their transformation, because it's the magic no longer happens just between two people, but like it happens between the person, all of their peers, and the coach. And there's just so much energy, so much inspiration, so much reassurance that happens when you find yourself in a room, a virtual room, with people who are embarked on the same kind of path and transformation. And
Mhm.
one thing that happens with coaching is that the brain is full of resistance. The brain is paid to be like, to hold on to what the brain thinks is safe, is normal, is acceptable. And so when you try to open things up and maybe shift the perspective, the default reaction of your brain is to tense up and actually regroup over what feels safe and normal and acceptable. And what I have found is that this resistance is the number one source of failure in coaching, when the coach is not able to create a space where the client um, is willing to let go of their current belief system, or what they currently think are those rules. And what happens in a group setting is that they can feel completely free to hold on. They're just seeing others who are making those shifts, and others who have a different lived experience and are seeing things in a slightly different way. And it creates
Mhm.
so much safety for them to just play with the idea and be reassured that other ways are possible, and the resistance just melts. And the magic of this is quite extraordinary. And this is something that you can only create in a group setting. You can't instill this in a one-on-one coaching relationship. So that's why I'm very passionate about creating safe spaces of trust and vulnerability, where we can laugh about it. We can, like, everything is, there's a solution to all of it. So we can be very open about it. And there's never any like self-pity or woe is me kind of talk. And so we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of transformation and a lot of great and deep connections starting, being the seeds of them being planted among the people who are on the same approach. And so by creating a setting like this, I was able to serve many more clients than I could have if I had stayed with the one-on-one model. And what I have done also is build a team, because I think that's also one thing that's very important, is that if you establish yourself as like the star coach, then people start to think that you're the magic wand. And then they think that you did whatever great things happened to them while being coached. They think that it's the coach who did it. And then they think, and then it kind of robs them of their own success, because they think it's only, and so often coaches are like, oh, this is great because my clients love me and they think it's amazing, but then the clients think that you did it. And so by introducing a team that I train in my approach and my methodology, and each of my coaches brings their own unique experience, their own unique way of teaching things, of explaining things in a way that, like, I have my own way of explaining things, but that's just, I can find multiple ways, but then sometimes you need to hear it from a slightly different person from a slightly different background or a completely different background. And again, it just adds that sense of we're not doing this alone. We can't transform alone. We need to feel, as humans, we really need to feel reassured that what we're doing is okay with the tribe. And so if you're not, like, if the people around you are not in the same dynamic, you need to find another way to reassure yourself that it's what you're doing is a really good thing. And so by serving more people and having a team, we were able to help many more women in 2020 than we might have, and they needed it so much, because of everything. And we work with a lot of working mothers. And so working mothers had their work cut out for them in 2020. It was like so much on their shoulders. And now in 2021, we are opening things up. We're launching a membership program that's going to be open to all genders, all family situations, because we truly think that those tools are highly needed for anyone who wants to approach.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So fathers can join. Is it mostly centered around parents? A lot of your coaching?
No. So we have tools around parenting, because I think parenting is the ultimate kind of leadership, I think, and parents need a lot of help, I think, that society is not providing. So we have some parenting tools, but we are also, like, we do a 360 of all of the major areas of your life, so that you can really start with the area that's causing you the most pain or difficulty, or where you feel the most stuck, and then you can take that success, like, because you can't really achieve amazing things if you have like pebbles in your shoes. Like, you have to take off your shoes. You have to remove anything that's just like hurting your feet when you're walking. And those are just the small, like, the resentment, the frustration, anything that's happening in your close relationships. This is going to prevent you from actually achieving your work in the world, because you can't achieve amazing things if you're squabbling around the dishwasher every night. So we're doing that 360, and then providing tools for people to achieve their life goals. So pursue those goals with vision, focus, and drive.
I like that. When Brett hears this, he's going to laugh, because I think our last squabble was near the dishwasher, actually.
Of course, yes, that's where it all connects.
It just builds up, and the dirty dishes, and then So Clotilde, looking forward, where do you see the future of coaching, overall, but also especially for the French market?
So my ambition is to normalize coaching, to really to really get people to understand that just the same way that you have to exercise your body in order to feel good, you have to exercise your brain. You have to exercise the way that you allow your feelings. You have to have practices in place for you to feel good in your mind and in your brain and with yourself. And we don't get any education around this. I mean, it's changing slightly in France for kids who are growing up now, but like barely. And at like when I was growing up, nobody ever talked to me about a feeling. Like it was just like nobody cares. Like keep your feelings to yourself and don't cry. And I think it makes such a difference in your daily life in the way that you use your resources of time, of energy, of money. If you know what you want and you know how to get it, like you get there so much faster if you just know how to use, like how to make aligned choices in service of your goals so that you're not constantly fighting against yourself. Like you have your lower brain that's like eat the chocolate, you have your higher brain that's like no, really, we should, and it's just that constant battle that is such a waste of energy. And so I love to offer my clients just very simple ways that they can gradually like find clarity over what's preventing them from having the life that they aspire to live. And it's amazing the results that you get with just very simple tools when you have that clarity.
Yeah, yeah. I predict an increased need for coaching. Absolutely. This year going into 2022, probably the next 3 years, I say are going to be like pinnacle demand for coaching. So again, those of you watching, Clotilde gives some wonderful tips today on what she did to elevate her business, and I have a few more for you. So don't go anywhere yet. But Clotilde, I want to segue now to a bit about, you mentioned, your industry was very new, and I'm sure there are times that could feel a bit lonely when you're starting something new. Tell me about the circles of, the networks you've been a part of, and also now wonderful to have you in the trust with us. Tell us a bit why you decided to join and a bit about what networks mean to you, because it's different for everyone.
Yeah, so it really loops back to what I was saying about how you can't change alone, and you really need to have. I think as humans, we need to be in spaces where there are other people showing us what's possible and what can be achieved, and who can normalize our experience. And whatever you're trying to achieve, something that people around you are not, it's just so much easier if you identify a room where people have the same aspirations as you do. And so when I heard about the trust, I was thinking, these are women. First of all, I belong to groups of coaches who are at my same level of business, and I enjoy those conversations immensely, and they help me a lot. But I was also seeking to be in a group with people who are in different industries, because I think if you want to be constantly on the cusp of what's new and what's going to be different and the way that things are changing, you can't just be like, you have to stay in your lane, but like from time to time, like look up and see what people are doing on different highways. And so that's really what I'm getting from the trust is access to women who are in very different industries, but face similar challenges. And so that's like, I want to be in rooms with, as you often you call them, like elevated conversations, which I think is so, like I yearn for elevated conversations, like no small talk, just like straight to what matters and what's essential, and with an openness that you can't really get on social media. That space of trust and, well, literally of trust and vulnerability that I think we direly need.
Well, I love seeing when my team said, "Oh, we have someone wanting to join from Paris." I said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" Because this year I envisioned all the global events, and Brett and I have this dream of traveling a lot more with the family. And then this year happened, and it's been wonderful to still have international members joining and saying, "I still want to be a part of this. I may not be able to travel right now, but I want to be a part of this. I need to be a part of another circle besides the ones I'm in now. I'm feeling like I'm elevating. I need to plug into something different. So let me just take a quick minute and tell those of you watching a bit about, just very quickly what the trust is. I have an invitation if you'd like to learn more. And this is the link, jointhetrust.org/private invitation. And I'm going to be hosting a special call on Wednesday, February 3rd at noon Eastern. And I'll be walking you through what the trust is, why I decided that the world needed a new modern network for women entrepreneurs at the 7 and 8 figure levels. And there's some great, networks out there. By the way, we'll put the link in the chat for you here as well. There's some great networks out there. And again, I don't know anyone in the trust who's only part of the trust. Everyone, is in other types of groups. You should always be keeping abreast of what's going on in your industry. There's other great networks to be a part of out there. But this is becoming something so special. It almost has like a soul to it. The women in there are connecting so much. And we just had our kickoff call for the year last week, and the energy on that call and the intentions they were setting. And I mean, some of the women were just in tears, and we could really feel that bright high side of everything happening. And with everything happening outside the world right now, it's easy to get pulled back down. It's easy every day to have your frequency lowered, but to have a circle you can just keep coming back to. Ladies, I need a lift today. Ladies, remind me who I am. Remind me, what I need to focus on. That's been happening a lot, along with all the great events and things that we're offering. So if you're interested, if you're at those levels,
I think, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you jump. Yeah, let me just one more thing.
I think, yes,
you
sure.
You.
Oh, sorry. I think what's really important to say is that these women are all leaders of their own companies, and it is such a relief to be in a space where you don't have to be leading like anybody, and you can be led. You can allow yourself to be led by others who are just offering this soft landing place for you to just and I think you also model such a great the way that you conduct those meetings, and the tone that you set is really unique. And I think that as women leaders, we need to be in contact with different styles of leadership, different energies. Like, I observe the way that all of these women are leading, and they're all very different. And I can learn and borrow something from each of them and just kind of like test it out for myself and see if it resonates. And I think this is so key, especially if you're a growing leader. You kind of have to define your own style. And if you don't have any examples around you, you're going to have imposter syndrome all the time. And so having those examples to be like, oh, she's like, that's the way she's leading and she's successful. So it must mean that it's okay for me to do it my own way in this very unique personal way that I want to adopt, because she's doing it in her own unique personal way. And I love that. I love that about this group.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's a good observation. I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. When you're part of these, it was funny because on the call the other day, one of the members just was like, it's so nice to be on a Zoom and not leading it. She was laughing too. And making those observations and different ways to run meetings and do coaching and things like that. So let me give that link one more time. It's jointhetrust.org/private invitation. And ladies, if you're watching, and hi guys too, but ladies, if you're watching, if you're not that level yet, do me a favor, share this invitation with a woman a female leader who may be part of some groups and she's enjoying them, but she's just craving something a little different, a little more elevated for 2021, especially with the current times we're in. Man, this is requiring something brand new to take all this on. And the women are the ones really leading the evolution. We really are. So jointhetrust.org/private invitation. Clotilde, thank you. Merci. For joining us today, and keep doing what you do. And I can't wait to meet you in person when the time finally allows. Yeah. And do you have a 6 p.m. curfew now? Did I hear that? Does France have a 6 p.m. curfew? So you just stay in and eat delicious foods, I guess.
Yes, that's what we do.
Okay.
You'll come to dinner at our place when you're in Paris.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah. Ooh, okay. We may have to have a pop-up meeting in Paris. Okay.
I would love that. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.